Have you ever seen something from the corner of your eye that wasn't there when you looked again? How about hearing from a friend of a friend that while they were hiking somewhere, they thought they saw something improbable, but when they spoke to a park ranger, there was always a simple explanation that left them unsatisfied? My name is Jack, and this is my colleague Chris,
That's
and we're
me.
senior wardens for the Creature Conservation Initiative. We protect the world from the creatures of superstition and myth, but more importantly, protect the same creatures from the world. Well, hello there, Chris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. The spirit of Christmas is still washing over me, or in other words, I'm in a food coma ever since the last 3 days. How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very good. Thank you very much. I managed to avoid most of the food coma, and I, in no way, shape, or form, am still drunk.
Perfect. That's a good setup for the episode.
Right, so who's doing this one? Oh yeah, it's me. Useful.
But, you could tell us about your personal experience with the Barkov, maybe.
I don't think I came across him this time, or at least. Oh no! Actually, yes. It was a Barkov that made me do it. Promise.
Sure. I expected nothing else.
Yes. Thank you very much for the excuse.
Yes.
It's been a relatively quiet Christmas, actually, for me.
Perfect.
Mostly because it's been a bit of a weird one.
A weird one.
We obviously, being wardens, we don't really have time off, or at least we can't always guarantee time off.
Yeah.
Nature of what we do, there's a lot of wardens, but there's also a lot more out there than there are wardens. So
that's true. Very true.
Yeah,
we're basically on call always.
Yeah, even if you book days off, it doesn't always kind of work out how you would like it to.
Did people start with the fireworks again too early this year?
We haven't had to respond to anything like that recently. It's, we're a few days away. At the time of recording, we're a few days away from New Year's, so... Oh, you just reminded me. Why'd you have to ruin my day?
That's one of a few hobbies I have.
Fair enough. They had me going out and dealing with some sightings over in Ireland over Christmas.
Interesting. So what did we sight?
Have you ever heard of a creature called a fetch?
I was called that in school.
No. Not like the insult of the word or the compliment, because I'm really not sure how that one goes.
It was not a compliment, I assure you.
No, it's a creature called a fetch.
Oh, a fetch. Okay.
Yeah. It's a bit of a concerning one when they start popping up anywhere, if I'm perfectly honest. But what we had was, without going too far into it, because, I talk about my experiences at the end of everything. Yeah. We had a whole situation where there were possible sightings of a lot of fetches in one area.
Jack.
And that is very concerning.
Jack.
What?
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
I promise, this is actually a creature. It's not slang.
Okay. So what is it?
So, what is a fetch? Well, a fetch is one of those ones that's actually really quite hard to define, because we don't contain them, we don't control their movements or anything, and when it comes to actually dealing with them, there is nearly almost nothing we can do.
Okay.
It's a shape-shifting creature, which obviously we all know how we feel about shapeshifters.
Not another one. Why can't I shapeshift? Seems like everyone and their grandma can shapeshift, but anyway, go on.
Give me a large pizza and I can shapeshift. Well, it's a shapeshifter, but it's in a really, really weird way. So the idea of a fetch in folklore is that it is a ghostly spirit rather than being like a corporeal creature that actually exists.
Yes.
And it's quite similar to things like the Wraiths and the Banshee.
Knowing old myths and legends is the reason people dying.
Yes.
Oh, what a surprise!
It is a bit of a strange one, though. A little bit like that Banshee you were talking about earlier in the year.
Yeah.
They're supposed to, in the folklore, turn up and augur something about somebody. If they turn up in the evening or late at night, or any time that isn't the morning, it is supposed to be a symbol of death. It's supposed to be that someone is about to die, someone is about to pass away in some manner, and they are actually able to take the shape of the individual who is supposed to die.
Ooh.
So, say if it was a case of I was going to pass away,
Yeah.
and you were moving
Finally.
around. We can hope. You were moving around, and all of a sudden you saw me, then potentially that could be me, or it could be a fetch.
Okay. That makes me feel weird.
Yeah, it gets stranger, because if they are there to portend someone's death, then they don't appear before the person dies. They appear at the moment somebody passes on.
Oh, so like a replacement of sorts.
Kind of. They don't hang around and pretend to be that person. They're not trying to take over that person's life. They just kind of appear to friends or family or loved ones, and sometimes it has been reported that you can actually see how the person has died on the fetch.
Okay.
So, say if they were stabbed or something like that, you would see a stab wound.
Interesting. It explains a lot of ghost sightings.
Yeah. And it's not just like the physical body, it will also replicate their clothing, their shoes, any like watches or jewellery that they're wearing. It is almost like a carbon copy.
Do we know why they do this?
No, this is part of the issue that surrounds them, because we can't seem to communicate with them.
Oh.
Or at least one of the wardens or any of our team haven't been able to communicate with them. Some stories about them have actually shown them to be able to communicate with people, and it's quite interesting you kind of bringing up the idea that they might just be kind of taking someone's place, because it has been known that, say, someone has gone off to visit like their sick aunt or uncle or something, and they have a full-on conversation with this person. They're talking through the whole thing with them, and this person actually starts telling them their wishes, maybe lining out a will, maybe, like, it's been, some stories have indicated that the person has told them how they want to, like, divvy up assets and things like that, and had a whole sheet of paper down and signed it and everything. Then that person will go away, they'll go and speak to someone else, and it turns out that the person in question has already died. Like, maybe even many miles away.
That's wild.
But they've had this full-on conversation with a fetch.
So they not only copy the appearance, they full-on impersonate them.
As it appears, yeah.
Okay.
They seem to be them.
Interesting.
And it's so perfectly synonymous that, again, as a way to explain what they are, some of the folklore and myth that surrounds them have posited that maybe the fetch is actually the soul, because they only appear at the point of death, or at least that's what a lot of the stories in the folklore say. They appear at the point of death, not before it, but at it, and then they just disappear.
I mean, I was kind of afraid that they would use it as a trap to lure in relatives of the deceased or something, but they appear to be quite peaceful.
Yeah, we've had no concerns over them, preying on people or even local wildlife. We're not even sure where they go or where they are. The only thing we really know is they seem to be centered around, kind of Celtic lands in a way. So primarily in Ireland, But, in Scotland and Wales and things, they have been known to be there. They seem to, like I say, have that kind of overlapping story with, like, the Banshee. But theirs is just slightly different in that they act in this manner.
Fascinating. So do they stick around, or is it just a temporary thing right after someone died?
They seem to stick around not for very long. We're not talking like days or weeks or anything like that. We're talking they stick around and it appears to be for some kind of purpose. So again, for some people, they have posited whether the purpose is they are there to fulfill the final wishes of a lucky person. I don't know. However, if you see a fetch in the morning, is supposed to be representative of that person that they're showing up as having and living a really long life instead.
So when is the parts over for that? Is it 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
No, it's first thing in the morning. Has to be first thing in the morning.
All right.
Like I say, they only appear if the person is still alive then in the morning.
Okay.
And like I say, that's to show that that person is going to live for a very, very, very long time. They're not going to die anytime soon.
Okay, that's kind of surprising, because if we go from the assumption you mentioned earlier that they are kind of the soul of the deceased has something to do with this, then that doesn't really work well with them being around while the person is still alive.
Yeah, that's pretty much what torpedoes that theory, shall we say.
Yeah.
But again, no one is quite sure why they appear then, if that person is to survive.
Is there even a way for you to know that what you saw is a fetch, or
more out of stories?
Okay.
Everything kind of lines up to say it's some kind of fetch. Like you say, one of the main things is if they've appeared and they're speaking with someone, the simple fact that this creature hasn't then killed and eaten that person is usually a pretty good indicator of that line that we kind of have with them. But there have been some sightings and stories in folklore, and this is more of the truth behind the myth. They don't necessarily appear every single time at the moment of someone's death. They have been known to appear before someone has passed away. And quite an interesting way in which to describe their usefulness at that point that I saw when I was doing some research was someone described them a little bit like Final Destination.
What?
If you can see the form of injury that's going to kill whoever the fetch has appeared as, maybe, just maybe, that person can avoid that death.
Ooh, okay. Okay, so you do see the injuries before the event has happened.
Yeah, we know that they appear to people before they've died. We also know that they definitely do appear sometimes at the point of death. Yeah. That is documented through other wardens and the like. But we know that that isn't the only time they appear. They do appear on occasion before the death of somebody or something. They can exhibit the way in which someone is going to die or potentially could die. They've, as gruesome as it is, fetches have been reported by wardens as looking like a person they know or they're with or they're around who has drowned. It looks like that person has drowned. Yeah. We've seen stab wounds, we've seen amputations, we've seen them turning up looking, wearing like hospital gowns, so it's obvious that it's for some reason someone has passed away in hospital, whether it be surgery or something or just an illness. They do exhibit the way in which someone potentially has or will die, which is a lovely thing to think of, I know.
Absolutely. And they seem to be intelligent if people can have full-on conversations with them. I immediately want to just ask them, but I can only assume someone else has thought of that, and they just don't cooperate, or we can't find them, or what's the problem?
The ones where we've been able to communicate, it's a case of we know it's a fetch after the fact.
Okay.
which is where the difficulty comes. Because again, if we were able to attend a conversation with a fetch and a person, then yes, we could start asking questions. Maybe I don't know if they would answer. Not everything wants to speak to us, and not everything wants to have a conversation with us. But this creature appears to be almost impossible to recognize in the moment.
I mean, apart from when it looks like a drowned corpse, I suppose.
Yeah, but again, we've got so many creatures out there nowadays that can quite easily replicate something that looks like that.
That's true. That's frustrating.
It is incredibly frustrating, and that's basically how I spent part of my Christmas.
Oh, what a nice way to spend Christmas.
I know, it was absolutely wonderful.
Did you see that Santa?
Yeah, it took him out with a tomahawk missile.
I knew this day would come.
No. What it was is, normally if we get sightings of fetchers, we tend to actually send out the science guys, the researchers. Because the fetchers appear to be so non-threatening, we don't tend to need to send like an investigator or a proper warden out to, handle the situation.
Yeah.
When I was doing my training, obviously we all have to spend a little bit of time with the research team. You've got to understand what they're looking for, the kind of information we can provide. Yeah. And I got sent out at one time with a researcher to go to a fetch sighting. Ooh. So I'm aware of them, and they, I've got previous. However, on this occasion, they were going to send out, field wardens like you and me, purely because we didn't just get a weird tip off that there might be a fetch hanging around somewhere.
Yeah.
And we want to go collect some data and find out what we can or something. What we found was we were having sightings of fetchers in a small Irish village all over the place. We're talking 20 to 30.
That doesn't bode well.
No, and it was not in the morning.
Yeah, I was afraid you'd say that.
So they scrambled as many wardens as they possibly could. We had a couple of them over in Ireland already, obviously, and I kind of was just booked on a plane, booked a car, and I was just away straight away. They gave me 15 minutes to pack and get going, otherwise I was going to miss my flight.
Gotta love these days.
In that situation, what do you do? You got 20 to 30 sightings through Reddit, of all places. Like, the only thing you can think of at this point is, we're going to have some kind of natural disaster?
You're probably about to tell me.
Yeah, well, it was very lovely that they went, potentially we might have a natural disaster that could kill many, many people. Let's send Jack.
Well,
we got there. It was a very, very eerie atmosphere. We set up a little bit of a command post, essentially, quite far away. There was about 4 or 5 of us here, and we're expecting another 3 wardens to turn up by the time I arrived.
Yeah, but nobody had died yet, right?
Nobody appeared to have died. There wasn't like any kind of issues going on. We immediately got in contact with the local authorities, and it's one of the few times when we're very, very open and frank with them. We got hold of one of our contacts and we said, we don't know what's going to happen. We're flying by the seat of our pants at this point. It's
we're professionals.
We're trying to stop something and we don't know what it is. Because, like I say, one of the fears is that, I don't know, maybe because it's something a little bit on the weirder side, our side of things, maybe we're going to have like one of our kind of creatures appear in town.
Yeah.
And, cause chaos. Maybe it's going to be some kind of natural disaster. Yeah, so we got them on top of things, and immediately asked them if they can essentially just quarantine the town. Most of the other wardens had heard of fetchers, but had never had any kind of contact with them. I, on the other hand, had obviously been there and observed a fetch with the research team from a very long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I left them to brief the other wardens and to keep in contact with everyone else. And I thought, if there's going to be something awful, let's have one warden in town rather than everyone there, so that if there is collateral...
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So I was moving around, and you know what? It's It is one of the scariest things. Moving through a town late at night in a like little sleepy Irish village, seeing just scores of these creatures
Ooh.
lining in people's homes.
Oh, that's wild.
It is creepy as anything.
Yeah.
I can promise you, I did not need to go to the toilet because I had already crapped myself.
Brown pants situation.
I'm walking through, and as I'm just shining this torch over people's gardens, I'm just seeing groups of them. And
man.
I don't know where they got the numbers 20 to 30 fetchers from on the initial reports, because that was an understatement. That was an underestimate. I am so happy that fetchers appear to be passive, because there were so many there.
So do we have any idea of the time limit on this thing? Like when they appear, is it hours, days, weeks until someone dies?
Usually it's within a day.
Well, that's
When I arrived, we were already down to about 9 hours, 8-9 hours, which is why I left the rest of them to kind of coordinate and start pulling something together. I stopped counting at this point, just going through, looking around. I was getting pictures of the fetchers and everything, because this is easily the most. This is the most we've ever seen in one location. This is the most obvious they've ever really been, and yeah, it was a treasure trove for research, to the point where I radioed back to the 2-hour command post. Let's just get everything we possibly can, record all the information we possibly can for the researchers, and maybe we can make some kind of breakthrough here. And as I was moving a bit towards kind of the middle, the village green, that's when I smelt it.
You smelt it? So you dealt it?
I smelt...
I'm sorry, this is a very serious situation.
Well, what I smelt was...
I can imagine.
It was fear for certain. No, what I smelt was there was a gas leak.
Oh.
There was a gas leak in the main village green, and that's when I realised it was travelling. It wasn't just one small gas leak that I could smell, because I'd been really distracted the entire time, because I'd walked into the village and found a ton of spiritual, ghostly creatures imitating a bunch of people who potentially could be dying soon. And I hadn't noticed it beforehand, but I could smell gas leaks all over the town.
How does that happen?
Corroded pipes. Something in the soil in the area had been eating through the pipes.
Okay.
When I raided this back in, a few minutes later, one of the guys came back to me and told me, number one, don't use your radio just in case you set anything off.
Yeah.
Static and all that kind of stuff. We don't need even the slightest opportunity for anything to go up.
Sure.
But just to listen, essentially. This town had been having semi-regular changes to the gas pipe work.
Okay.
The company who had put it in had been trying to change it unnoticed for about the last year. Evidently, they hadn't been doing it quick enough.
That's scary.
Absolutely terrifying. All it would have required was one naked flame.
Okay, so then you shut off the gas and everything was fine, or?
Basically, yeah, we called our contact and immediately told them we smelt gas. They took it seriously. I personally was very, very happy about the fact that I didn't drive into town.
Yeah.
And the moment they actually shut off the gas coming into town, the fetchers started winking out, just disappearing.
Oh.
Just gone.
Okay, so...
And just, say one by one, just poof.
So I guess you confirmed for the science guys that you can prevent whatever they announce?
Essentially, yeah. There does appear to be a way to prevent what they announce, not like Final Destination where, it's inevitable. When they obviously turn up at the moment of someone's death, then evidently, well, there's not much you can do to prevent that.
Sure.
I don't know, maybe they just flicker in and out if you've got them on a defib. I don't know. But in my mind, my theory is that they are some kind of natural warning signal.
Yeah.
How it works, I don't know. How they know, I have absolutely no idea. But no, that's kind of my story of coming face to face with quite a lot of fetchers.
Yeah, fascinating. And you made a
was-
scientific breakthrough.
Oh, I'm hoping I made a scientific breakthrough. We'll see what the research guys come back with.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll name a rule, a fetch rule after me or something.
Who knows? Or they find out that it is actually Final Destination rules, and now this village is cursed.
Oh God, it's going to be nuked.
Well, in the current world climate, who knows?
Yeah, that's making the job easier, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, where else could we set off nukes? I don't know where this metaphor is going, but you know what I'm getting at.
I'm not sure. Why don't you have another go?
Well, where else? Where else will people tell you when you smell gas?
Okay, yes, it's called the Discord.
Well, when you smell gas and then the nukes come, but
no, it is called the Discord. If you would like to join us and our little community and be a part of everything, then you can find a link to our Discord invite link in the description of this episode. In there, you can talk with people, you can make suggestions for the creatures, you can note when we're recording because it's a publicly visible but private channel which allows you to see when we're recording our episodes. So
exciting.
I don't know, stand outside it like you're standing outside a recording studio. I'm not sure.
Stretching on the glass. Let me in.
But yeah, if you like what we're doing and you would like to make suggestions for creatures that we do an episode on, then feel free to join and let us know, because between me and Chris, we have seen pretty much everything, or we're sent out to see the new things first. And in the meantime, if you are enjoying this podcast, then why not give us a follow, a like, a subscribe, or whatever you need to for your podcast of choice app. And also, what else could they do? What's that wonderful thing they could do that the algorithm loves?
The algorithm loves watching our episodes about 500 times each. You can go back to all of them. You don't need to watch them in order. They're all perfect and evergreen, and watch time, listen time is our friend, and you can always go back and search for anything you might be interested in. And I don't know, have I forgotten any of the advertising blocks?
All you just need to do as well is just give us a like and a 5 stars or a heart or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Just to tell everyone that you absolutely love us as well.
I mean, you already mentioned those, but you can never have enough likes. Like us, love us, desire us.
Yeah, feel free to desire us. I know Chris has been trying to use this as his personal dating app.
Call me. I'm desperate. No.
Yeah. If you want to know how desperate, listen to the mermaid episode.
Listen to the succubus episode. But before this derails any further, I think this is the proper time to jump ship and see you in the next episode every other Tuesday. And have a nice rest of the year, and goodbye.
Goodbye.